In February 1971, in the town of Hexham, England, two young brothers named Colin and Leslie Robson were weeding their garden when they unearthed two small stone objects. They were crude, hand-sized carvings of human heads. One appeared boyish, while the other had wild, bulging eyes and a skull-like grin. The boys brought them inside, unaware they had just invited a nightmare home. As soon as the heads entered the house, the heavy atmosphere shifted. The Robson family began experiencing terrifying phenomena. Orbs of light floated through the hallways, and the sound of breaking glass echoed at night, yet nothing was ever found broken. Most disturbingly, the family's daughter felt unseen hands pulling her hair while she slept near the stone carvings. The neighbors weren't spared from the spooky energy. A woman living next door claimed that on the night the heads were found, she saw a half-man, half-beast creature prowling through the shadows of the Robsons' garden. She described it as having the torso of a man, but the fur and head of a goat or a wolf. It moved with a jagged, unnatural gait before vanishing into the brickwork. The heads were eventually handed over to Dr. Anne Ross, a renowned expert on Celtic antiquities. She was a woman of science, but the Hexham heads broke her skepticism. As she kept them in her study, she began waking up at 2 a.m. to a freezing, bone-deep chill. She felt an overwhelming presence of ancient evil emanating from the crude, eyeless stone faces on her desk. One morning, Dr. Ross walked into her hallway and saw the werewolf for herself. She described a 6-foot-tall, black, shaggy creature that was partly human and partly animal. It stood at the end of the corridor, staring at her with predatory intent. When she blinked, it was gone, but the smell of wet fur and stagnant water lingered in the air for hours afterward. Dr. Ross's daughter also encountered the entity. She saw a dark, hulking shape leap over the banister of their stairs. The family became so terrified that Dr. Ross decided the heads had to go. She passed them to another researcher, but the shadow followed the stones. Everywhere the Hexham heads went, reports of werewolf sightings and poltergeist activity followed like a plague. The mystery turned into a scientific debate. Dr. Ross believed the heads were Celtic cult artifacts, possibly 2,000 years old, used in rituals to summon guardian spirits. In Celtic lore, the head was considered the seat of the soul, and stone heads were often placed in wells or pits to act as spiritual anchors. It seemed these anchors had been pulled from the depths. Suddenly, a man named Desmond Craigie came forward with a rational explanation. He claimed that he had made the heads himself in 1956 for his children to play with. He said he carved them out of common cement and sand. To prove his point, he showed investigators where he had worked. For a moment, it seemed the spooky mystery was nothing more than a discarded toy. However, chemical analysis told a different story. Scientists from the University of Newcastle examined the stones and found they were not made of modern cement. They contained high amounts of quartz and organic carbon materials consistent with ancient stone. Furthermore, the style of the carvings matched no known modern toys, but perfectly mirrored Iron Age severed head icons. If Craigie had made them, why did the werewolf appear? And why did the stones cause geological disturbances? Some researchers suggested that the stones acted as batteries, soaking up the violent energy of the land they were buried in. Hexham is located near Hadrian's Wall, a site of ancient battles and massacres. The heads were perhaps recording devices for old trauma. The Hexham heads became a global sensation in the paranormal community. They represented the stone tape theory, the idea that minerals can record events and replay them as hauntings. The heads weren't just carvings. They were keys that unlocked a frequency of fear. The more people focused on them, the more active the Wolfman became. The heads eventually vanished. After being passed between several museums and private collectors, they disappeared in the late 1970s. Some say they were thrown into a deep well to return the wolf to the earth. Others believe they are hidden in a private vault, still vibrating with a low-frequency hum that makes the dogs in the neighborhood howl at the moon. The mystery of the Hexham heads is a story of the unburied past. It is the terrifying reality that something as small as a stone can hold a darkness as vast as a forest. It is a puzzle of cement versus silica, a reminder that the ground beneath our feet is a graveyard of memories. The heads may be gone, but the shadow they released still stalks the folklore of the North. Even without the physical objects, the town of Hexham remains a hotspot. Locals still report seeing a large black animal near the garden where the boys first dug. It is a reminder that some things, once unearthed, can never be truly put back. The heads were the eyes of a monster that had been waiting for centuries for a child with a garden trowel to find it. The spooky legacy of the heads lies in their simplicity. They weren't gold or jewels. They were just ugly faces of stone. Yet they brought a family to their knees and terrified a world-class scientist. They proved that the ancient world isn't dead, it's just sleeping. And it doesn't like to be woken up by the sound of a shovel hitting a buried, grinning skull. The story ends with a chilling thought. What if Craigie did make them, but used cursed sand from a nearby ancient site? The material itself might have carried the virus of the haunting. The Hexham heads remain the gold standard of cursed objects. A mystery where the truth is buried somewhere between a modern hoax and a 2,000-year-old ritual of blood. As the fog rolls over the moors of Northumberland, the legend of the stones lives on. They are the Gorgons of England, turning the peace of a suburban home into a theater of the occult. The Hexham heads are a testament to the power of the object, a reminder that we should be careful what we dig up, because we never know what might be attached to the other side. If you ever find a stone in your garden that seems to be staring back at you, leave it where it lies. The lesson of Hexham is that some faces are meant to be covered by the earth. The werewolf is still out there, searching for its eyes, and the silence of the North Atlantic wind is the only answer to the question, who really carved the heads of Hexham? The werewolf entity, often called the Wolver in local lore, is said to be a guardian of the dead. By removing the heads, the Robson boys may have broken the seal on an ancient tomb. The heads were the lock, and the boys had accidentally turned the key. The haunting wasn't a punishment. It was a retrieval mission by a creature that wanted its property back. The final location of the heads remains the greatest missing person case in the world of artifacts. They are stone phantoms, existing now only in old photographs and the nightmares of Dr. Ross's descendants. Their absence is almost more terrifying than their presence, knowing that they are out there, somewhere, waiting for the next owner to pry them from a box. The Hexham mystery is a masterpiece of suburban Gothic. It takes the mundane setting of a garden and turns it into a portal to the Iron Age. It is a story of bulging eyes and shaggy shadows, a reminder that our modern world is just a thin crust of pavement over an ocean of ancient, hungry things. The heads are the bubbles rising to the surface of that ocean. The heavy silence that followed the head's disappearance is noted by many researchers. It was as if the wolf finally caught up to them. The story serves as a warning to all amateur archaeologists. The past is a jealous ghost. It doesn't want to be put on a mantelpiece. It wants to be left in the dark, where the roots of the trees can keep it company. Today, the Hexham heads are a cult phenomenon, inspiring books, documentaries, and endless theories. They are the monsters under the bed of British archaeology. The mystery remains unsolved because it refuses to fit into a single box. It is a mixture of geology, psychology, and the prowling shadow that refuses to be explained away by a cement mixer. The story ends with a whisper from the old world. It says that stone remembers. It says that the earth has a long memory for blood and for faces. The Hexham heads are the signature of the soil, a mystery that proves that sometimes it's the most terrifying thing you can find in the dirt isn't a bone, it's a grin that was carved before your ancestors were born. As you walk through your own garden tonight, look at the stones. Notice the ones that look a little too much like a face. And remember the boys of Hexham, who thought they had found a toy, but instead found the eyes of the wolf. The mystery of the heads is a reminder that the world is old. The shadows are long, and the werewolf is always just one shovel click away. The Hexham heads remain a perfect mystery because they are so small, yet so impactful. They are the seed of the supernatural. From 2 handfuls of stone grew a forest of fear that covered a nation. Whether they were a hoax or a haunting, they succeeded in one thing. They made the whole world look into the eyes of the stone and blink first.